Welcome please to the JVG podcast, where these G's are gonna spread their seeds of knowledge about the league. It's flourishing with these funny catchers seem to be well read, esteemed and honest, like the man himself, Jeff Van Gundy. They are high IQ, so cerebral and funny. So if you're on the bus, just border on the dunny, listen to the
JVG NBA tribute show.
Oh fuck.
You gotta do the clap, man.
Okay, I didn't know.
It's okay. Hey, now you can go.
Welcome to 100 and... Fuck. You got me out of my funk.
The good thing about the clap is, like, you know, it can be in the middle. It can be before, it can be after.
Oh, so you didn't have to interrupt me.
I still had to clap at some point.
Right in the middle of the intro.
Right, okay. I see how I've kind of dug my own grave in this conversation.
Yes, I'm your co-host, Lucas.
And I'm Marco, and this is episode 105 of the JVG MBATS show.
Nice.
It's like ATM card. Wait, it's like ATM machine. MBATS show. So like, it's already in the thing.
Very good. So you've been away the past 10 days, Marco.
Yeah, man.
You're looking sun-kissed.
Thank you.
And very energetic.
Yeah. As you correctly observed, I haven't made a gag in a couple of days, so I'm full of them, you know. I'm brimming. I don't know where to start.
When did you get back? Yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday at about 8:30 my flight came in. Had to I was on the Sunshine Coast. As you do, you book a direct ticket from the Sunshine Coast to Melbourne, and they cancel that flight, and they're like, oh, you have to go to Sydney first. So that was a big fuck around, but, you know. Apart from that, I got home yesterday.
So what happened? You went Sunshine Coast, Sydney, Melbourne?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. How long was that? How long was the whole commute? Take us through that.
I want to say 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. But, you know, it's annoying.
Yeah.
It could have been 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Direct?
Yeah.
Wow, I feel like it should be shorter than that.
Yeah.
Like 2 hours.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it should be shorter than that as well.
A 2 hour coast job.
Yeah. But it was like one of those things where it's like they rebooked the tickets for me. It's like, oh, the plane gets into Sydney at 6:15 and your next plane leaves Sydney at 6:45. It's not very much time, you know?
Yeah, but on a domestic layover.
Even if you're on the tarmac at 6:15, you're not getting off that plane till 6:35.
Oh,
and let me tell you, I got off that plane at 6:36. And thank God it was the next gate over, because if it was one of those like mad dashes across the domestic terminal, I would not have made it.
Oh my God, I actually have a nightmare layover story.
Yeah?
Crazy. This is not...
Like it's a nightmare you have about layovers, or you have a layover that was a nightmare?
Two then. One for each.
Yeah.
I was in a country of sorts.
Which country? It just helps the listeners like imagine where you are.
Great question, Marco. My fucking crossover. My layover flight was in
Crossover layup.
Mexico.
Yep.
Okay, so my crossover was in Mexico. It was in Oaxaca. Mm-hmm. Oaxaca, Mexico. And the place I flew in from had I had a 1.5 hour layover. The place I flew in from was an hour behind, or an hour, whatever. It was an hour time difference.
Yeah.
And when I got off the plane, my phone hadn't updated yet, so it just said like I had like 20 minutes to get to the other terminal, and I had to shit at this point.
Oh no!
And that did nothing to help the situation. And I was like, oh fuck, okay, I'm gonna shit myself in this airport. And then my phone changed back to like an hour and 20 minutes, and then I had a mad rush to find a toilet. I really should go into the full details of this story another time, because it's pretty funny. But like I went to 4 different bathrooms. There was a line for every single one, and then I finally got into one, and there was a cleaner in, and all the cubicles were taken except for the the handicapped cubicle. And then I was like, he left it, and then I went in, and he was like, no, and he pointed to the sign, and I was like, I'm gonna shit. like the other ones are taken. Would you prefer for me to shit myself outside the toilet?
Yeah.
Lucky the cleaner's here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I ended up getting into a toilet, and then at this point of the story, I kind of become the villain. As soon as I do that, I leave and I get a coffee. Like straight after.
Because I'm thinking like an hour and 20 to get from one terminal to another. That's still not very much time.
Yeah,
you know?
I had about an hour to spare. If everything had gone according to plan, I would have had like an hour to spare.
Right.
But with this whole conundrum and then my own decision making, I had about 10 minutes, 15 minutes
How
Like,
long,
15
how long did the coffee take?
Well, then I had to go to the toilet again after it. That's where heroes become villains.
Oh my god. I'll tell you something on that note though. Anywhere else in the world apart from Melbourne, they just take way too long to make a cup of coffee. I feel like if you have to wait for more than 10 minutes in Melbourne, like your cafe's closing down within the month. In other places, it's just like, what are the baristas doing? Like, what's their methodology that it's taking you 15 minutes to make my coffee? Like, there can't be that many coffees in front of me in the queue. There's only like 5 people over there.
Is this Noosa?
I'm thinking of Noosa, but I'm thinking more generally as well. Because you get that, you go to the airport and you're like, oh, I'll just get a quick coffee. And it's like a 20-minute wait or something. It's like, why?
That's what you're paying the premium for.
What? For
The
them to
longer
take
experience. So you can really enjoy that
the
cafe.
coffee to grow to brew for longer. Oh, and then the coffee's shit. The milk's so hot. Maybe that's why they're heating up the milk for like 2 minutes longer than they need to be.
A burnt latte, please.
Yeah,
no one's
exactly.
ever said that.
Oh my god,
fucking real.
In Noosa, every single coffee so hot, like piping hot, because it's just that's.
It's because of the weather there. It heats up after you buy it.
Right. Well, I didn't know that. I was about to be a bit ageist, so I'm glad that you stopped me there.
Noosa Dembele, is that a football player? Is it?
No.
Isn't it?
Is it? You think of Usman Dembele? Or Musa Dembele?
Musa Dembele. Yeah, how about that?
Yeah. There's so many Dembeles. There were 2 Musa Dembeles at the same time.
Wow.
And now there's Usman Dembele.
Usman in the NBA or in the football?
Wow, now I'm not sure. Maybe there's 2 Usman. No, there's a football player as well.
Damn. Because there's Usman Jang in the NBA or something.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Usman's a pretty...
Yeah.
I'm sure Usman and Dembele are pretty common up.
What do we have here? Names.
Names.
To finish up
Yeah,
that
what
sentence.
did I have written down here? Yeah, names. I think they're Senegalese. For real, though.
Oh, right. I didn't hear what you said. But, had a pretty cool experience basketball last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so first game was with the Brickies, second game was with the Saganakis. First game, I laid a bit of an egg in the scoring column. I was okay defensively. I was okay with other parts of the game.
You're okay defensively. Like, that's pretty good for you, so...
Yeah, well, I don't like this narrative just being
Okay.
built. I was okay moving the ball. I was semi-okay on the glass. Ned was fucking ridiculous last night.
You reckon he had a Kevin Love? A 20 and 20?
It's so possible.
Mm-hmm.
But he accounted for most of the boards. Of the 5% of boards that he didn't get, I got a couple of those.
Yeah.
And we won. We won that game pretty easily. But we were playing against there was like 4 children on the team. They didn't have a full strength team, but we showed no mercy, except for me apparently. And then I had my second game with the Saganakis, and I was a bit peeved about how the first game went. But like usually when I have it's a poor skill game in the first one, I try to bring energy for the second one. But I don't know what happened in the second game. I reckon in the first 2 minutes, I want to say, no longer than 3 minutes, I had 15 points.
What?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And we played a really good team. And I ended up with 27, which felt pretty good.
Fucking oath.
And yeah, we won. And I don't know what happened.
15 points in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, threes or...
3 threes, 2 twos, and 2 free throws. I've never...
Perfect balance.
I have never... I don't remember the last time I hit both free throws. I don't remember the last time I got to the line.
Yeah.
And then I also don't remember the last time I hit both free throws.
Yeah. Getting 5 shots up and getting a shooting foul committed on you in 3 minutes is that's about as tight as you can get.
Yeah, that's a tight 5. That's a tight 3.
Yeah.
It's also probably all the shots for my team.
Yeah, but you're hot, right?
Yeah, I made them. Yeah, it was cool. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, nice.
That's that though.
Love that. Well, speaking of enormous basketball accomplishments, we'll have to take a more somber tone for the next one.
I feel like we don't have to have a good segue.
Yeah. We lost a grade of the game. I'm not going to act like I have a particular emotional connection to Bill Russell, but there is no denying that he is probably a top 10 player of all time. He's the most winningest American athlete ever, indisputably, I think. And yeah, just I think has been such a good influence on the league from before he retired. You know, he was the first black American basketball coach. Was he the first? Was he the first black NBA coach?
I think so.
Yeah, and then obviously like first to win a championship, which he did in his first year as coach.
While he was playing as well.
Yeah, while he was playing as well.
Not to mention.
And just dealt with like just the absolute worst of American racism, of Boston racism as well of their time. And then, yeah, just stuck around the NBA as like a hugely influential figure for the next 60 years.
I think he could be the most important player the NBA ever had.
Yeah.
And the most important person who ever played in the NBA. And that, like, speak about unbreakable records. That is unbreakable. Like, to not only exist in his time, in the 50s and the 60s, as a young African-American person, but to then thrive in what he spent his time and energy towards professionally and socially. And also, he had this platform that was only made possible, or that people only listened to because he made the platform so important. Like, in 1956, when he came into the league, being an NBA player, no one would listen to you. People would only listen to NBA players because of he had the biggest role in making that platform initially. And then he got to use that thing that he created. I think that he's probably like the most well-respected figure in American basketball. And every single person looked up to him, and everyone always had something good to say about him. And it's like what a life!
Yeah.
What the heck kind of life is that? It's amazing.
Yeah, and this statistic that across his college and his NBA career, he played 21 winner-take-all games. So, like, you know, win the series or go home. 10 of those were game 7s.
Oh my god!
And he won every single one.
He won 21.
He won 21. He was 21-0 in winner go home games, and that includes back-to-back NCAA titles, 50 games in college unbeaten, like just 11 rings in 13 years. I don't care if the league's smaller, the talent pool's lesser. Also going up against who a lot of people consider to be the greatest basketballer of all time for a long time, Wilt Chamberlain. And, you know, sure, he never put up 100, he never put up 60, but he beat him in every single column of winning on the court, you know, as like a team player, in one-on-one matchups, like he had his number. And yeah, just like, I think no matter what any league looks like, winning 11 out of 13 NBA finals is just, it's insane.
Well, speaking about what any league would look like, what would the NBA look like, do you reckon? If there wasn't like if it was Wilt who started the NBA and there wasn't Bill on the other side playing for another team, like, would people take the NBA as seriously? Would the 70s and 80s have looked so good? Like, would the talent have been so good in the 70s and 80s?
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Like, I think you need those, like, obviously you need those dynasties and you need those, like, dynastic figures as well to sort of, like, yeah, I mean, the NBA is so mythical. It's like, it's really based on these like mythical players and their matchups and their achievements. And it is like these achievements that you're like, no one will ever be able to do that again. Like, you look at any of the sort of mythical, you look at Wilt, you look at Bill, you look at like Larry Bird and Magic, you look at MJ, and you look at Kobe, we'll look at LeBron very soon, and you'll be like, no one can do that. You know, those are like individual achievements that aren't repeatable. And that's like, I think how the success of the league is built, being like, okay, like that's brought attention to us, now let's like build on that product.
Yeah. I remember Isaiah Thomas, the older one, once talking about, he grew up in Chicago, and I think he said he always wanted to support the Bulls, which, you know, makes sense. But his family wouldn't allow him to. His family was like, we're Boston fans.
Yeah.
We're Celtics fans because of Bill Russell and the fact that they're like the African-American team.
Yeah.
And who knows how much of an influence that would have had on Isaiah Thomas's, basketballing life and career. But like how many families would that have impacted like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Like how many people have that exact same story?
Yeah.
And like, and then like Isaiah's one case study, but like, yeah, who knows if Isaiah Thomas would be, I mean, I'm sure he would have always been an NBA great, but who knows if he was like, if he would have ever been a champion if not for
Yeah, and especially if you're from like a pretty racist ass place like Boston, and you're like, despite everything, this African American player kind of like owned the city and kept playing for the, like, he could have, the treatment he got there, he could have left Boston whenever. He's like, no, this is my team. He loved the players, he loved the franchise, and obviously loved a segment of the fans. There's this excerpt from his daughter's memoir, which I'll paraphrase here, about some of the treatment they got there. One time, like they're away from the weekend, they came back, their house was in shambles, and they spray painted the N-word on the wall. They just like broken into his trophy case, smashed everything up, and like shat in their bed. Every time they were on the road, like vandals would come, tip over their garbage cans. They'd call the police. The police would be like, "Oh, it's just raccoons."
Oh my god.
Yeah. And despite, the police just had absolutely no interest in protecting him. The FBI had like a case file on him. I think what they call him, an arrogant Negro who won't sign autographs for white children.
Oh my god!
They had him like pinned as like a person, a malcontent basically. And despite that, like this guy, he didn't quit, and he kept succeeding. And yeah, I think that what you're saying is, so many like young African American basketball hopefuls would look at that and be like, oh, okay, like I want to succeed in that league. I want to make this league for us.
Yeah. And now like, so like, how could you even begin to empathize?
Yeah.
Like that lived experience would have been fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
I would have run.
Yeah.
So
100%.
And yeah, just like the players today, like forget about just enjoying the fruits of his labor. He planted the seed and then also did the labor on top of that. Like he did so many steps for the league to be where it is today. But yeah, I'm also not going to pretend like I was a fan and I ever saw him and knew anything about him. But he's always had an impact on every basketball fan's life. Yeah. And I mean, everyone knows him. Everyone who just picks up, like if you've been a basketball fan for, who knows, 2 weeks, you will have heard something about him, read something about him, and you'll know that he's like this figure, that like this important figure. Yeah.
I remember probably before we even started doing this podcast, but when I just started following the NBA, and you lent me Bill Simmons' Big Book of Basketball, and one of the opening chapters is just this huge thing about why Bill Russell is better than Wilt Chamberlain. Just like 40 pages. And obviously like homerism, blah, 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 blah. But I remember being like, oh, okay, like this is like, this is what it means to be a basketball fan, is to like, it was just backed up with all of this like perspective and all of his achievements and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, this is how you formulate a basketball opinion. Yeah. Like, unfortunately, it kind of is like pitting two greats against each other. That was like the first thing I was like, when someone goes, if I'm at a party and someone's like, oh, Wilt Chamberlain, man, you're so good. I was like, yeah, Bill Russell had his number, man. Like, how many rings did he win? Like, did he ever sacrifice for the team? Blah, 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 blah.
I guess that is like the way we think about or talk about basketball players. We contextualize everything.
Yeah.
Like there is everyone has their own reasons, and it's not just about the outcome. In basketball, it's never like footy, for example. It's like, when is the conversation ever about, well, this only happened because of this? He was tired or whatever. He was so tired from the season before that this happened and this happened. It's like, no, we have to take into account these people's personalities, what they do with their spare time. Like, all of this stuff matters. Yeah.
Yeah, when do you ever get like, oh man, Hawthorn were playing against firemen and plumbers in the but I think on that note of like context, I think 11 rings, in context, out of context, it's probably the most impressive thing.
Yeah.
It's probably the most impressive achievement in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like,
one for every finger and then some.
Yeah.
And then one. But still.
Yeah, you only had 2 on one finger, actually. Yeah, when you put it like that. Yeah, like, I think that it defies context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rest easy, big fella.
R.I.P. All right, well, we'll take a short break and then we'll be right back.
So just keep your head up and keep moving forward. Hold W, big dog.
And we're back.
We are. Well, from a past centre to a current centre, which centre do you want to go to next?
Well, let's start with, I mean, these are both pretty somber news topics. But yeah, let's start with Brittney Griner, because I think that it's like bittersweet, I suppose.
BG. What's bitter about this?
Well, yeah, let's go through the news and then I'll give you my opinion on it.
Okay.
So yeah, the US government has apparently come to an agreement with the Russian government to exchange Brittney Griner and Paul Whelan, who's a former Marine who's in Russian prison as well, for Victor Bout, the death merchant. The guy we've talked about quite a lot here, which is obviously like absolutely the right thing to do and a thing to celebrate. Where you go, you give me your take and then I have a bit of a counter.
Okay, well, I think that we might have the same take.
Okay.
I was just a bit confused by the word bittersweet. I have found it quite conflicting.
Yeah.
Like, on one hand, I know Griner. I've been a hater in the past, but in a fan way. And she's been like a player in my life for a couple of years now, and I want the best for her. But like, the person who she's being swapped for should be in prison.
Yeah.
And is like a bad person, and I disagree with prisons for so many people. So for me to think for me to think someone needs to be in prison, it's like, no, you need to not have the same life as everyone else.
Yeah. I think for me, this is just a lose-lose for the American government, where it's like, okay, if you let her sit in prison, well, that's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
That's like a US national kind of being, unfairly detained, and she could well end up getting, a max 10-year sentence. But on the other hand, like, you do this, you're just going to get so much criticism for it. Like, and the other thing was that Ned actually brought up to me. I mean, he had a smart idea for once.
Such an unnecessary
is it like, why didn't they just accept this deal 2 months ago? Like, this was obviously they've got this Paul Whelan guy in there, but like, this looks so bad that they let her sit there for 2 months and they just accepted what the previous offer from the Russian government was.
I think the amendment was that Whelan was also included, which he wasn't initially. I thought it was they just wanted BG for Bout. I hate how much it sounds like an NBA trade.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a serious thing, and there's no way I can't make the connection to just an NBA.
The jokes are played out. They're so played out.
But they should have got it first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's like somewhat of a silver lining, is that Bout has already served, I think, more than half the sentence, which was a 25-year sentence. I think he served more than half of it.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, some silver lining.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's much of a muchness, like it. I think more than anything, it just looks bad.
Yeah.
Is releasing this guy to the Russian government. I mean, yes, it's probably going to cause some direct harm, but it's not. It's not like you're just like, oh, cool, you're killing people now. You're free on the streets to like keep killing people.
Yeah.
But it looks so bad. It's a like convicted mass arms dealer for a basketball player.
Yeah.
But I'm still really happy. Like, I think, it was just such an injustice she was there, and I think obviously like the league is going to be better for it as well. Like it feels like, and this is the other thing. I want to talk about this later after we talk about the next thing. But this should be a win for the WNBA, and it doesn't feel like a win for them.
True.
Yeah.
Is there any timeline on like when she'll be coming back?
Nah, I think they've just agreed in principle to the business swap, so there's no actual details on when
Yeah.
it'll happen yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting as well. But I would assume it'd be like within the month, or within a month or
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I don't think she'll be playing
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
playoffs. But,
Yeah.
you know, like, if this was a thing that sort of dragged on over years, you know, and we knew she was in prison and, like, suffering, and she's probably going to have trauma from, like, this amount of time she's been there, then, like, that would have been so much worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of someone who's not going to be playing in the playoffs, again, didn't
Oh,
need
man.
to punchy segue there,
But you did.
but I did. Liz Cambage,
Yeah.
who is also might be Liz Cambage again. I watched it. No, I watched a video.
It's just so funny.
I watched a video and she introduced herself as Liz Cambage. It was from a month ago. It was one of those GQ 10 things I can't do my day without.
Yeah.
And you know how you get into like number 3 and every time you're like, why am I watching this? I got to number 3, but before that she said Liz Cambage.
Damn. I was thinking it was like, again, unnecessarily snide here. Like when we're a fan of her, she's Liz Cambage, and then when we're not a fan of her, she's Liz Cambage.
Cambage.
Mrs. Cabbage. Anyway, get to the news.
So the news is she had a contract divorce with the Sparks. I love this term that the WNBA uses, a contract divorce. And it doesn't seem as though, and she's not playing. Like her name isn't being floated around as a signing anywhere else in the league.
No.
It feels as though this could be the end of her professional basketballing career.
Yeah. Or, you know, the end of her American professional basketballing career as well. Yeah. I mean, some really interesting stuff has come out about like the tension in LA. Like, I think a lot of her teammates are already pretty unhappy about like the Nigeria situation. Also, I think, did she call... I think Ali Quigley has also claimed that she called someone a fat cow a few years ago, which is a very nice thing to say on the basketball court.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Anyway, I'm
if
missing,
it's on the court.
I'm missing the point here. She also... So when she signed for the team, she wanted to wear a number 8, but it was going to be retired during the season.
True.
She then wanted to wear number 1, which was already taken up by Amanda Zahui B, who actually not too familiar with.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Well, that makes one of us.
You know, and Amanda didn't want to give up her number, and then just found out by social media that the Sparks had given it to Liz anyway. So I think entering the locker room, there was already a lot of kind of discontent with her.
Who was that person?
Amanda Zahui B.
Okay. She doesn't seem to be on the team.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Which I would honestly say, you know what? Give up the number.
Yeah. But you can imagine how that might stir tensions in the locker room. And then, it all came to blows in their game against the Aces, where apparently she complained about not giving enough post touches. So her teammates started ignoring the plays that were getting run and just started feeding her the ball in the post. And then, she rushed out of the locker room. Last words were, "I can't do this anymore. Best of luck to you guys." and then stormed out.
Well, she meant well at least on the way out.
So, I mean, because there was a second there where I was like, okay, is this like the Sparks aren't doing well enough, another team wants her, they're gonna, she's gonna do a...
Tina Charles.
Tina Charles, which I'd like to talk about later. Just remind me. But yeah, this just seems like really she's just not going to mesh in any NBA team. Like her personality's just not going to work anyway.
Yeah. That part I definitely agree with, her attitude part. I feel like a lot of the criticism she got about her attitude was never they never like cited like fair enough stuff, but in watching her this season I feel like it was very apparent this season, and it hasn't been so in your face in other parts of her career. But I feel like the first 4 minutes of every Sparks game, she was the most threatening basketball player in the world. And it felt like she was going to drop 50, like every single game. And then she'd get the early sub because of her condition, which is her responsibility. Like the fact that she had always had to play such limited minutes. Like You need to be more available for the team.
Yeah.
I will come to a Big's defense though. Like, she had such good position so many different times. And if I am to empathize with a professional basketball for a second, if my Big has like 3 inches on their player and good position, I would hope they're yelling at people to give them the ball.
Yeah.
Like, if they're right under the ring and they've done their job, they've done their job to get our team 2 easy points, I would hope they're swearing out whoever isn't giving them the ball.
Yeah.
You can do that, but then also bring energy defensively. And like, in the touches you do get, you like put up a shot with purpose. I think that was the issue with Liz. It's like, okay, cool. Yell at your teammate. That's fine. But that has to just exist in that moment. It can't keep affecting the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And I think that was and then that's the attitude coming into play.
Yeah, and I think she had that like junior sports thing where you ask for the ball, and then you get the ball and you don't do anything with it, and you're like, oh, it's a bad pass.
Yeah.
You know, like, not that she'd literally do that, but she had that attitude when she'd like put a kind of crap shot up and miss it. Like, she'd throw her hands up like, you know, it's not my fault.
Yeah.
It's like, well, at a certain stage, yeah, you're responsible for if the ball goes in the basket or not.
Yeah.
I did want to kind of tie these 2 WNBA stories together.
Oh.
If you'll let me.
Of course.
Because there was this good article on Jezebel of all places.
I didn't click that.
Yeah, it was actually a really good read, and you know, I don't know, sort of. No, it was really well backed up, I thought. And I'm sort of just gonna like paraphrase it, develop it into my own thing here, because like I think the kind of connecting issue between the Griner thing and this Cambage thing. I mean, it's like the lack of support that the WNBA gives its players, and which like obviously starts with the amount of money they're paid.
Yeah,
like we've been over why Griner was playing in Russia. We don't need to litigate that anymore. And I don't want to defend a lot of like Liz's behavior. Like that Nigeria thing especially is just like, okay, cool, I'm not a fan of you anymore. Like that's kind of an unconscionable thing to do. But you can see how someone who kind of is a bit more volatile mentally, who maybe has like pre-existing mental health issues, kind of has ended up in the situation she's in. You know, like she's opened up in the past about like her bad mental health, the lack of support she had. I think she said when her rookie season, she'd just be like at home crying alone every night. Like she was like young adult flown to the other side of the world, living in Tulsa, you know, like I think when you talk about NBA players and it's like, oh, you get drafted to like a kind of shit city. It's like, yeah, but you're probably still getting paid $5 million.
Yeah.
You know, like, whereas she was getting paid $40,000 on the other side of the world without any of her support networks, with all these already pre-existing mental health issues that they probably weren't equipped to deal with at the time. And then I think like, yeah, we've talked about how she's always sort of a target of the media. You know, when she complained about coaches getting paid more money than the players, like she just got absolutely scalded in the media, being like, oh, you're just trying to bring another woman down, like about Becky Hammond.
Not what she was trying to do.
Yeah. And then like she gets this label about like being unfocused, you know, like, oh, she wasn't in training camp, she was DJing at such and such festival. Oh, she's got an OnlyFans. Oh, she's modeling. And it's like, yeah, so she can make money. Like, so she can like this contract with the Sparks, $170,000. I don't think people really need that much more money than that. But I can also understand why you, as one of the world's best basketball players, as someone with an incredibly leverageable brand, you would go in to do these other things. So I think it just sort of feels empty in one way to be like, oh, this is all Liz's fault. It's all her attitude's fault, when like the league has created a lot of these issues, you know, that mean that someone like her just was kind of destined to fail.
Yeah.
You know, like how she spent her rookie season, and she went to China, and then she signed with the Wings in 2018. And then she had one or two good seasons in Las Vegas. Apart from that, like there's just been no situation where she's able to thrive. And it's kind of shit because she's really talented.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a classic, like, hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah.
And to think about how high profile of a player she is, to have spent like what 5 years in the premier women's basketball league in the world, but still be like probably the most famous player throughout that whole time.
Yeah.
Definitely top 5.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. And she's still going to hold like the single game scoring record, you know, like
For God knows how long.
This league that's like very young, and you know, like every time you're watching a WNBA game, they go, oh, such and such just, you know, went up to 11th in the all-time rebounding, you know, rebounding record, because the league's been around for 30 years and it's been really good for like 15.
Yeah.
So like records are always being broken, and yet Liz, who wasn't in the league for very long, wasn't sort of an established, you know, like legend of the league, like every year she was in the league, she was one of the best players and she was breaking records, you know?
Yeah. If you can, I think she had like, it was like a 5-game stretch of 206 points or something. If you can't foster that, like she's shown she can hold up her end of the bargain. If you can't, you got to be able to foster that. The people within the teams probably did want to. Everyone around her probably wanted to. It probably would have just been a failing of the league.
And again, like she's obviously got a poor mentality, and like however your mental health is, you can't be racist to people, you know? Like you can't sort of be directly offensive to your opponents. Like that's just not what you do in sport. But at the same time, I think it's not like, oh, good riddance, Liz is gone. I think the league should be quite sad about it.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it is her birthday in 2 weeks, so hopefully she celebrates that.
As the end of the Yahoo Sports article about it says, where is it? It was just quite funny the way they worded it. Sorry, this is great. This is great TV. There are currently no interested WNBA team sources say. Some believe Cambage will use the downtime to focus on her modeling career and DJing, skills that are said to be admirable.
What the hell? Skills that are said to be admirable? By whom? By people.
Well, Yahoo Sports can't make the assertion that Liz Cambage is a good DJ, but they can say it's said to be.
We've never been a DJ here at Yahoo Sports.
We wouldn't know anything about DJing. She'll probably just keep, you know, she'll be like on the third line of every one-day music festival in the US. And she'll get the fucking bag. So, see ya.
Come play at Strawberry.
Yeah.
That'd be so much fun.
That would be so much fun.
Well, since her departure, her ex-team, the Sparks, have been 0-2. And one of those losses came to Sylvia Fowles and the Minnesota Lynx, who are still alive. Did you happen to catch a Lynx stream last week?
I did. I sure did, Lucas.
And what were your thoughts in this game?
I think it was a really fun watch. I think it really told the story of Atlanta's season. You know, the Lynx just completely dominated that first half. Like, outshot Atlanta. Atlanta were like defending pretty well, but they were just getting the most ridiculous looks. Like, there were some just unbelievable threes that were going in. Aerial Powers, I think, is like, she must be one of the best tough shot makers, like, in either the men or the women's league. Like, when she's getting double teamed, when she's getting like heaps of contact, she must be shooting 80% or something. And I really love the build of like those just super athletic, super athletic wings who can make their own shot, like Jackie Young, Ryan Howard, who's playing for the Dream. But then I think it was, at the beginning of the second half, the Dream switched to a zone, and it completely took fouls out of the game. And just really turned their favors. I think really their only downfall here was that I think Ryan Howard might have shot them out of the game. She was taking some really bad shots in the second half that were sort of out of the flow of the offense. When they were sort of they'd really played their way back. And I think that was really, for me, that was really the only, that was the differing factor by why they couldn't pull off the full comeback.
Yeah, I feel like the Dream's second half was like pretty ideal, but they seriously didn't give themselves a chance to win the game after the first half. And then also give the Lynx credit for how they played in the first half. Aerial Powers, my God, she's just like, she's such a game buster. Like, whenever a Lynx game is looking for someone to take over, it's always her. And she'll just like go on these spurts. Also, it's just always at the line. I don't understand. It says she had 4 free throws in this game. I don't believe that. Like, she's always at the free throw line. I feel like she's always getting fouled.
I think they're all and ones, I reckon.
That's actually probably right. They got 5 games left in their season, and it's a pretty rough run home. This win was big because the Dream are, I think the Dream are 9th and the Lynx are 10th. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So their playoff hopes are still alive and they're still possible. And if the Sparks continue with their form, like they could honestly lose every single game for the rest of their season. Like not only have they lost their starting center, they've been it's a big shake-up so late in the season.
And they've obviously, I think they're making the playoffs out of,
Sorry. So the Dream are 9th, the Lynx are 10th. Yeah. So in this win, obviously you get the win, but then you also don't give the team that's in the chase with you the win. 5 of their 5 last games, 2 of them are against the Storm and 1 of them are against the Sun. So that's that's rough. Their other games are against the Mercury, and I can't remember who the other one's against. But if they win those 2 that aren't against the Storm and the Sun, that'll leave them at 14 and 22. And I'm not sure that's good enough to be 8. And it's just a bit sad that Sylvia Fowles' career. First of all, she didn't get to play her last season with Nafisa Collier, who was like her running mate last season. And then secondly, like I think they're not going to make the playoffs, and like for such a great basketball player to not just have one last taste of the playoffs in their last season. It just sucks. It's like, and it's definitely something you root for.
And I think in this game as well, like they looked like a playoff team, like like Fowles is obviously just such a legend. Aerial Powers, like, was playing like a star. That sort of the big front court of Sylvia and Jessica Shepherd was like, I mean, the Dream kind of figured it out in the second half, but it was intimidating. It was intimidating in the first half, especially against a team that sort of, doesn't have as much height. And they were just, I think, this is a team that's had so much success with like a similar core, and it kind of shows. It shows that they're still good and they really know how to play together. And then on the other side, the Atlanta Dream, like this is the season this is the season from nowhere, like they weren't expecting this outcome, and you can kind of tell, like these players don't quite know how to play offense together yet. Like it's a really sort of rigid, there's not quite a flowing system in place yet. Like you were really seeing that with the Lynx, like, these people know how to play together. And they really, that last quarter, Dream had 40 points. And it was just like Tiffany Hayes just like getting to the rim over and over and over again. I think she had this crazy 7-point stretch that was like hit like step back 3, then inside layup with like 3 defenders trying to block her, and then like just on the line 2, all unanswered by the Lynx. But it was just like, there was no help, it was just her creating for herself. And I think, she fouled out with like a couple minutes to go. I think Minnesota would have won either way, but it was like, she was really the only reason they were back in that game.
18 points in 7 minutes is pretty
nuts.
So sorry. The Dreams run home. It's a bit more. It's a lot nicer than the Lynx's run home, and I feel like that 8th seed is going to go to the Dream.
Yeah.
They got the Fever, the Sparks, the Lynx, the Aces, and then the Liberty twice. 5 of those 6 games are winnable.
Yeah.
You would probably pick them as the favorite in, I would say, the Fever and the Sparks game.
Yeah.
And then that puts them at 14 wins, which is what I also have the Lynx at.
Right.
And then they only have to win one of those other 4 games.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
going by the numbers, I feel like the Dream's going to, sneak into that 8th seed. But in this, like, watching this game by itself, I feel like we saw a lot of what the Dream do poorly. But also what their system is kind of, how their system can be, what's the word when you like make something look bad? Exploited.
Yeah.
How their system can be exploited.
Yeah.
And it seems a bit simple.
Yeah.
It seems a bit too simple. And also, on the other hand, the Lynx, when they're firing, look really good. So it just feels like in that 1-8 matchup, I mean, either team's going to get their asses handed to them.
Yeah.
but I would prefer to see the Lynx for that reason as well.
Yeah. I get that. I do. I have like a good vibe about this Dream team. In that, like, they just had some stretches where defensively they were so good. And you could see with like not a super experienced team as well. So I would love for them to get like, blooded in the playoffs this season. Yeah. Ryan Howard, has an all WNBA season next year, and then they're like, a legit playoff lock. Pretty quickly. So yes, but yeah. I mean, I just want all the teams to make the playoffs.
I like that the Fever just have an O next to their name. Like, the top 5 seeds have the X that means clinched. And it's like the Fever's record is 5-27, and it's just said the O. Yeah. It reminds me of that Jake and Mira. It's like something, and your dad just straight up replies no.
Mean text from your dad.
Ignore.
The fact that there's 2 games between 6 and 11 is pretty nuts. Although I think that was the Eastern Conference in the NBA about this time last season.
Damn. Now we also watched a couple of games. Me and Marco actually fucking set time aside to watch.
We collaborated. Games. We synergized.
I didn't make any notes for the Mystics. Wings game.
Well, I'm so glad you said that, because of the 3 games we watched, it was the one that grabbed my attention by far the least.
Yeah, I was going to say it was the least remarkable game.
Yeah. Any takeaways from this? The Wings looked really sloppy. And I think Washington look good. Yeah. Like, they look playoff ready, I think. Yeah. Obviously, all 3 of these games, without spoiling what the last one was, had fucking a team go out to like a 20-25 point lead in the first half, and then just get absolutely, brought back to the wire before eventually winning the game. So I think, like, Dallas, they have so much talent, like Ogunbowale is such a fun player.
McCowan.
Who else am I looking at? Sorry. Oh yeah, McCowan. I even remember Marina Mabry was having a fun one, but then she was just made some like bad turnovers in the last quarter. But they went up against the Mystics, who are from. They've got to be one of the most organized teams.
Yeah, in great
the
word.
WNBA.
God, that is such a good word for it.
Like, the announcers were harping on that they have the slowest pace in the league, but like their fast break offense is insane, and it's just in the starkest contrast to their half court offense. Yeah, like they just kill on the fast break, and then when they're in the half court, it's like 7 passes minimum before a shot goes up. This stat was hilarious. So they won by 10 points. They had 18 less field goal attempts.
Wow.
than the Wings, and 2 less free throw attempts. So it's not like they were getting to the line a whole lot. And that was without their best player.
Yeah.
That was without their like highest scorer. And sort of like, the motor of their offense in Elena Deladon. So I think they're just like, they're a very efficient, well-oiled machine. And I think like we know who the sort of title favorites are, but I think if you end up in a playoff series against them, which I don't know, the Storm might be.
Yeah.
Like they'd be a very worrying team to go up against in the playoffs, I think.
Definitely. I think, the word organized is perfect. They're going to get their shot.
Yeah.
Like every single possession, they're going to get their shot. And like this game, in the absence of Elena Del Don, their starters had in points 14, 14, 14, 13, 12. Yeah. And then you add Elena Del Don, who's been averaging, I think it was 17 and a half points this season. Like, you add her 13 shots to that team, and that's a hyper-efficient team. And her 13 shots are the best 13 shots.
Yeah.
Like, they're the best 13 shots.
She's a 50-40-90 player.
Like. Yeah. And then, they're the best 13 shots this team will get. And it's like, it's a hyper-efficient team that'll only be getting better when Del Don comes back.
Yeah. Their one weakness was, and that's what sort of spurred the Wings come back in the second half, is they were just terrible on the glass. Like, McCowan had, it was just a ridiculous amount of offensive rebounds.
McCowan?
Yeah, she had 4 in the second half, and they all ended up in putbacks.
Yeah.
Like every single one. And Kayla Thornton had 3 in that half as well. So there was, that's just kind of you should not be giving up that many O boards.
Yeah.
In one half of basketball. I think it was 9 in total. Yeah.
They had, the Mystics had 22 defensive rebounds, and the Wings had 17 offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
So that's like more or less 50% of the boards.
Yeah.
The issue is though, if it's 4-5 against the Storm, we don't have like a glass cleaner.
Yeah.
Stewie gets a couple. Tina Charles has been good. Ezzy is kind of so on the glass. She's kind of streaky as a rebounder. So I feel like that won't really be an issue, and that's their weakness. And if their weakness, if we can't like make the most of their weakness, we're kind of neck and neck everywhere else, which I'm a bit worried about.
Yeah, but I think like, so like Tina Charles has just replaced Ezzy in the starting lineup.
Oh my god! What?
Yeah. Have you noticed? You haven't noticed?
No, I haven't. I haven't watched the Storm game for like 2 weeks now.
Which it makes me sad, but it's like just so obviously the right decision. Like she's had a couple double doubles in that time, I think.
Oh my god!
So like obviously like I think Ezzy's been having one of the like best. She's my most improved candidate, as we said in the last WNBA episode. But it's really sad that like, she's just been relegated to some pretty meaningless bench minutes across the last few games. I'm just looking at the box score here. So, you know, which, you know, I was kind of excited to see her as the starting center in like a competitive playoff team. Yeah. But if you can get Tina Charles and just slot her in there, like you are a title contender in your own right.
Yeah. Well, our last 2 games are actually against the Mystics.
Yeah.
Crazy that, huh?
Oh, true. And you won them?
We went 1-on-1 in them.
Yeah.
But I really didn't expect Ezzy to move back to the bench.
Yeah.
To move to the bench.
I think Tina Charles is just that good, you know? Like, she's she's led the league in scoring. Like.
Yeah. No, and she is. Like, there were stretches in her first few games when she was coming off the bench where, like, Stewie was out there and we were just running shit for Charles, like for Tina Charles.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I just feel like it's a lot of firepower.
Yeah.
And then not much coming off the bench.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like maybe you can give Ezzy these minutes. Like maybe you can just keep the minutes but swap the swap
exactly.
the positions.
Just have Montrezl Harrell. But
if
Montrezl Harrell was a former league MVP.
Yeah.
She's got 2 scoring championships and 4 rebounding championships. So maybe she will match up well against the Mystics.
You never know. All right, now this last game.
Oh my lord.
Sky versus Sun.
Jesus.
God, I feel like we should have like an analogy here. You know,
battle of the space.
Look it up at space. This I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
So first quarter, Sky got out to first half. Let's say first.
No, it was first quarter. But it was about halfway through the second.
yeah.
Halfway through the second quarter, they were like basically 18, 20 points up.
Yeah. The Sky were about 20 points up, a quarter and a half into the game. But the Sun just kept energy, and they kept acting like they were still in the game. When so many other basketball teams would like just quit on themselves, but they kept this idea that like we're still alive, we're still in this game, like we still have a chance to win this game.
Yeah,
and that just set a foundation for them to go on a run, which they did.
Yeah,
in the second quarter,
19-0, I think it was. At the end of it, which is just insane. Yeah, like the Sky were coming in without Candace Parker. I think Azra Stevens like really stepped up. She took Jonquel Jones out of the game entirely in that first quarter. Like she got that fucking awesome block on her, but then they just weren't feeding her the ball because they're like, and like I did not expect her to win that matchup. Nah, not in the slightest. And yeah, like obviously Kalia Copper was just getting her shots. But yeah, that 19-0 run, it was like sparked by Alyssa Thomas. And then her and Duana Bonner they both had one of those games where you can't stop them from getting a shot.
Yeah.
Like both of them were just like, whenever either of them had the ball, it was like, you are getting a bucket. Now, the fact that this team has last year's league MVP alongside those two others, it was really fucking scary. And then, yeah, from that run, they just kept the energy going for the entire game. Yeah. And obviously, like, the Chicago Sky, they're the best team in the league. Like, I think, you know, without discussing the result, they're probably my title favorites still. But it took that for them to match up with that sort of Sun energy. Yeah. And then ended in a tie game.
I guess you're right. At the end of the fourth quarter, it was a tie game. Do you want to guess how many field goals Jonquel Jones made?
3?
5. Which I'm a bit surprised by.
Yeah.
I would have thought it'd be, probably 2 or 3.
Yeah, it didn't feel like she was involved.
Yeah. And when I was watching the game, I was like, great D, Azrae Stevens. But then also, there was this one play, she got it on like the left wing, Jonquel Jones, and just drove to the ring. And I was like, damn, there was no resistance. Why isn't she doing that more? Yeah. And then it was like, as I was like watching the game more, I was like, oh no, she's getting just papered up.
Yeah.
Also, in that first half, actually the whole game, but that first half, Kalia Copper was crazy.
Yeah.
She was so like purposeful when she was going to the ring.
Yeah.
And yeah, she felt like she was unstoppable. And yeah, there was just like the system happening around her. Both teams were playing their system, and she was just like, "Fuck you all." Yeah. Like, I'm gonna get 6 layups at the rim.
And I think I've said this before. Is like Chicago Sky. They're like well drilled. You know, fucking they're 5 starters and their 6th player are all averaging between like 14 and 11 or something like that. Like no one's standing out. And I was like, okay, but like, who's the player that you turn to when you need someone to say, fuck, what's going on in this game? I'm going to get a bucket. And it's Kalia Copper. Yeah. Like, I wasn't so sure, but I think she is absolutely the player that you go, just go score at will now. We need you to do that.
We'd really like it.
Yeah. And yeah, she really did that in this game. And then, yeah, that overtime was just, I think the Sun were at home, went on an 8-0 run to start OT, were 8 points up, and then the Sky they just went like professional mode. Yeah. Courtney Vandersloot might be one of the most professional basketball players I've ever seen. Like she knows how to win a game all over the court, and yeah, then they just went on a 9-0 run in response and fucking tied it up.
I feel like Courtney Williams' field goal percentage from this game does not reflect how she played. She shot 7 of 20.
Oh my god!
I swear on my life I didn't see her miss.
Yeah, nah, she was chucking them up. I remember. Oh my god.
Yeah, this was a great game. This was a really great game. As you said, the OT run, I thought it was just game over. Sun win. Let's go home.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Sky, without Candace Parker as well.
Yeah.
Like same deal with Helena Del Don and the Mystics. Like just add them to this exact performance, and like who can stop you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you're going up, like the Sun are one of the most pedigreed teams in the league. Like they've got so many good players.
Their whole rotation.
Yeah, and this should be an opportunity for John Carl Jones to just feast, and then everyone else sort of like feed off the scraps there. But yeah, the fact that even then that wasn't enough to sort of get them over the line, and they were playing so well. I think that's very scary for whoever goes up against the Sky in the playoffs.
Yeah. I think Vandersloot. I feel like maybe Chris Paul. No, sorry, definitely Chris Paul. Vandersloot. I can't actually think of any other players. Maybe John Wall. That just like show you how important playmaking is. Sorry, that's John Wall in his prime, by the way. But like they just make it so clear to like beginner basketball fans, like, oh, this is why being good at passing matters.
Yeah.
And this is why having a good facilitator matters.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of any other players that just make it so obvious.
Yeah.
For just any bloody Tom, Dick, or Harry who's watching basketball for the first time to be like, hey, what's that part of basketball called? I can see that's a very important thing.
Yeah. Every one of her 12 assists was just like an absolute bullet.
Yeah.
I think she got her darling wife on like the best backdoor cut ever twice. Just like beautiful, perfect bounce pass between two defenders. And yeah, you're right. I don't think anyone else demonstrates it better.
Yeah.
Oh man, there were so many good moments good moments in this game. Yeah, Courtney Williams got that offensive rebound, just like amongst the fucking trees and then like floated it back up. Alyssa Thomas had 22, 7, 8, and 5 steals.
Yeah.
She kept getting those beautiful like poke ahead, and she's big, like she's tall, and she was just outpacing like the Sky's backcourt for those fast break layups. Oh god, it was such a good game.
Yeah. Also, Alyssa Thomas 4 turnovers, assist to turnover ratio 2-1. Assist to turnover ratio is out the door when your steal to turnover ratio is positive. Something I really like about the Sun in this game is when they went on their runs, John Carl Jones was on the bench, and I feel like the team, and like credit to her as well, to just be like, okay, cool, I'm not the best thing for the team right now. And then Brianna Jones came in her place, and I feel like they did a really good job of just identifying what they needed. Yeah. And just playing to what was working.
Yeah. No, definitely. I really love that about the WNBA, that it's like that at the end of a game, it's not like just give the ball to the best player and like run an ISO. It's like, it's situational. You're playing a different team every single time.
Yeah.
Like the answer isn't always going to be Kevin Durant by himself at the top of the key. Bad example, because that's probably the answer is most of the time.
That is good.
But you get my idea.
Before watching this game, the Sky Sun game, I was noticing a trend between WNBA games was just, it's so much about production because most teams execute. Like, I would actually say all teams execute. And then watching this game, I was like, shit, this is another level. This game is like, there's individual brilliance as well. And like defensive execution, getting another team out of their like offensive execution. This definitely felt like both teams are ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. The top 5 is looking really really anyone could beat anyone in that top 5.
Yeah, I think round 2 will be amazing. Yeah, I think top 3 especially will smoke the bottom 3.
It's the classic. There's like 5 good playoff teams, and one of them doesn't get to make it out of the first round.
Yeah. Oh man, I really don't want it to be the Storm.
Yeah. I think.
As you could imagine.
All right. Well, I think that's as good a place as any to wrap it up.
Yeah, I reckon.
An hour 4. In
Nice.
case you were wondering.
That's 64, which is a square.
Wow. Should we go for 2 more minutes and then you divide it by 6 and then it's 11 rings?
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, should we go for dinner then?
Yeah, let's go for dinner.
Much better idea.
Laters.